Maes. He's traveled all the way from California in the United States. His company KAIBAE are working with harvesters in Ghana to market Baobab into the US market. He's a naturopathic doctor himself, and he has been studying a lot scientific research that's been done on the health benefits of Baobab, and he's going to give us an update on some of the latest advances in science relating to the health benefits of Baobab fruit pulp.
Hi. Hi, thank you for having me. I mean, it's no wonder that Baobab is such an amazing tree. It grows in one of the harshest places in the world, has an incredible wisdom to concentrate these essential nutrients to live this long in this very harsh environment. And we have a lot to learn from this tree. Next slide, please. The next slide, please. It's not that important to me. So the Baobab offers us a unique potential and can benefit in our health in many, many ways. But before I drop into how the Baobab can help us, I want to introduce you to a new concept, a concept where you look at your health, at your body as an internal environment. An internal environment that you can pollute within just like you can pollute around us. Our internal environment is interfaces with the outside world through the microbiome. The microbiome is a layer of microorganisms that resides in the oral cavity, the gut, and on our skin. And what we're learning is that the microbiome, that these organisms are very important to our health. And 70% of your immune system is wrapped around the gut. So the quality of the food you eat every single day greatly determines whether your internal environment moves toward a state of health or a state of disease. What I can tell you, Baobab has a lot to offer to move us to a healthier place. Next. And Baobab isn't only fruit pulp. We're learning from the research, and due to time constraints, we're learning that the shell, the pulp, the leaves, the seeds, the seed oil, the funicles all harbor amazing nutrients that can make a huge difference for our health in our current modern world. Go ahead, next. Okay, so as I mentioned, the way we live today in the West and the quality or no quality of food we eat has moved us towards a number of diseases that's rapidly evolving and costing the world a lot of money, and moving consumers to look for natural ways to live a life in a more preventative way to prevent conditions such as arising colitis, inflammation of the intestinal tract. Why? Because of the poor food they eat. So we have a rise in metabolic syndrome, diabetes, obesity, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, cardiovascular disease, neurodegenerative disease, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. It may all sound to you as a surprise, but all these conditions find their origin in the gut. More and more research is revealing that shifts in these microorganisms that live in the gut greatly influence the messengers the body produces, which cells use to communicate or not communicate. Also, epidemics are on the rise. Increased size of populations, we have new outbreaks of all diseases, measles, tuberculosis, dengue fever, stronger influenza. And also, we are encountering increased drug resistance, meaning that the way we live and the poor quality food is actually feeding microorganisms in the gut. The overuse of antibiotics is leading to microorganisms living in the gut that don't listen to medication anymore. They become drug resistant. So not only is Baobab beneficial as a food, it also has a lot of incredible nutrients that actually have antibacterial, antibiotic, antiviral benefit. In fact, there's some research out there on Baobab leaves showing that it has antiviral benefit as powerful as echinacea. I don't know if you're familiar with echinacea, but echinacea is a commonly used herb in the West against viral use in cold and flus. And here we're learning that baobab leaf has an equal antiviral potential. Go ahead. Next slide. Okay. So what we're learning is that people who live in industrial environments, in urban environments, is that the diversity of these microorganisms in the oral cavity, in the gut, and on our skin is actually diminishing. There's less and less of these beneficial organisms living in our gut and on our skin and in our mouth that play a vital role in communicating to our immune system what happens around us. Now, as we're learning that we are losing this microbiome diversity, we're seeing this rise in disease. Baobab, as we all know, I don't have to go into the details, it's rich in prebiotic fiber, vitamin C, calcium, potassium, and polyphenols, and we all know that it's low glycemic. All nutrients that benefit gut health, the skin, our stress, can help us with stress resilience. Actually, baobab is an adaptogenic. It helps us deal with stress better. There's actually research done at the University of Colorado showing that people who ingest more prebiotic fiber endure stress better. That may translate into using baobab on a daily basis. And also blood sugar balance. Go ahead, next. Can I use next? Okay, we all know that baobab has a lot of nutrients. We go to the next slide. Okay, so out of this multitude of nutrients, I wanted to highlight two groups of nutrients that I find very useful and very powerful in the prevention of these powerful diseases that we are seeing that are on the rise. Polyphenols, and I'm sure some of the people who are in the baobab world are familiar with polyphenols, but for the people who are not, polyphenols are phytochemicals that plants make in defense to their environment. As a defense to UV radiation, to infestation, to infection. The baobab has an incredible wisdom to concentrate these polyphenols to protect itself, to survive in this harsh environment. And it's no wonder that baobab is one of the richest polyphenol plants known to man. Polyphenols, as a result, can really benefit human health. And increasingly we're learning that these polyphenols have anti-aging benefits. They're anti-inflammatory, they're anti-diabetic, they're anti-cancer, they're neuroprotective. And also, we're learning that they help improve body composition and weight management. How these polyphenols do this, I will explain in a moment. But I wanted to have you imagine that your body operates as an internal environment and that the gut plays an important role in it before I drop into more detail into some more boring chemistry. Go ahead next. Okay, polysaccharides, of which pectin, which is a big part of baobab, polysaccharides are carbohydrate molecules, are actually chains of sugar that are more responsible for maintaining the structure of a plant. But we're learning now that these polysaccharides, in which pectin is the biggest one, actually have prebiotic benefits gut health and gut microbiome. What does prebiotic mean? Prebiotic means that it feeds the probiotics. The healthy organisms that live in the gut are called probiotics. And they produce healthy messengers that go into the blood and move your body into a healthy direction. And that's what baobab does. Baobab is a prebiotic fiber that feeds lactobacilli, bifidae, and I'm sure Akkermansia, as we do more research. And these, as we increase those organisms in the gut, we move towards a healthier immune system and move towards better health. So polysaccharides are an interesting group of, I would say, structural sugars that can also make a huge impact on our health. So I wanted to highlight the polyphenols and the polysaccharides. Go ahead. And the reason why I want to drop in polysaccharides, I came across this interesting research, although you can use some work. We are learning that specific fractions of pectin, so different chains of different sugars that were extracted out of the baobab powder, have some very powerful anti-diabetic benefit. When people were given these polysaccharides, you see metformin is a commonly used anti-diabetic drug. And we noticed that after 60 minutes, there was a 41% decrease in blood sugar, and after 120 minutes, there was a 45% decrease in blood sugar. Now, at the highest dose of this polysaccharide fraction, there was 44% decrease in blood sugar, and 29% decrease after 120 minutes, which is pretty amazing for a natural product to actually decrease blood sugar in such a way. Almost comparable to a medication that's commonly used in allopathy. I thought this was an interesting piece of research that's building on a trend that we see in previous research on baobab, how baobab is low glycemic, how baobab is beneficial for metabolic syndrome. And for people who don't know what metabolic syndrome is a complex of hypertension, high fat, and high glucose. It's a common pattern that's occurring all over the world and is serving and is a cause at the root of many diseases. So we have an imbalanced gut microbiome that causes the wrong messengers to go into the blood and moves our body into a place of inflammation, one that promotes a pre-diabetic, diabetic state. That's pretty amazing what baobab can do. Baobab can actually drive us in the opposite direction. And that's what we're increasingly learning from all these bits of research, anywhere from low glycemia to preventing metabolic syndrome. And now that we have this little piece of research saying, hey, you know what? There's actually pieces in baobab that are very powerful in explaining why baobab can really help us at a time where metabolic syndrome is rapidly on the rise. Go ahead.
Luc,
Yeah.
what were the low and high doses?
The low and high doses, I have to give you the research. That's where they have to improve the research. They were not very clear. They were more clear on the type of sugars that they collected and made some differentiation between different polysaccharide chains, but they failed to mention what the higher dose was and the lower dose, which I don't understand. I can show you, I just thought it was an interesting little piece of research highlighting a trend that I think I see baobab moving in more and more, which is of great need. Okay, so as I mentioned, the gut microbiome is very important. Actually, what's different from this drawing from last time is I added the oral cavity, because the oral cavity, the oral microbiome, actually chewing on prebiotics has been shown to improve the population of bacteria in the mouth. So increasingly you'll see in prebiotic toothpastes, prebiotic tablets, what we showed, we will hear, and that is another great potential for baobab to improve the health of the oral cavity. And I'll explain to you in a moment. In addition to improving the microbiome health in the mouth. We're finding that imbalances in the microbiome actually affect the gut, as I mentioned, colitis and irritable bowel. An imbalance in the oral cavity in the gut microbiome affects the heart and increases atherosclerosis. There's a more and more connection between Alzheimer's and the health of the oral microbiome. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is a huge concern. Also, where we're having so much inflammation that the liver is inflamed, very similar to colitis, and our trend towards insulin resistance, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, and obesity finds its origin in the oral and in the gut microbiome. When the gut microbiome is out of balance, when we have more harmful bacteria than beneficial bacteria, we call that dysbiosis. Instead of a symbiosis, where all cells, bacterial cells and human cells live together in harmony, when it's out of balance, we call it dysbiosis. Next. What we've learned from previous research is that baobab, because it produces these healthy bacteria, it promotes lactobacilli and bifidi, and yes, we need more research to build on that. but some research that we have has been shown to enhance lactobacilli and bifidus. Well, actually, these bacteria produce what's called short-chain fatty acids. Short-chain fatty acids include acetates, propionate, and butyrate. So these fatty acids are messengers that travel, that heal the gut lining. So we have the gut and the wall, and the less quality food we eat, the more inflammation we have. And Baobab actually does the opposite. It produces these anti-inflammatory messengers, butyrate, acetate, and propionate, and heals the lining of the gut. Now, these messengers not only heal the lining of the gut, but they actually transpose into the bloodstream and help with a great variety of health issues. They protect the brain, they reduce, as I mentioned, inflammation, they contribute to weight loss, control blood sugar levels, and cholesterol. So Baobab not only promotes the growth of healthy organisms in the gut, it actually also reduces inflammation in the lining of the intestine, ensuring that we have a healthier immune system. Remember, 70% of your immune system is wrapped around the gut. So that's really important. Go ahead, next. Okay, so Baobab fruit pulp, as I mentioned, affects the microbiome, improves short-chain fatty acid production, and from previous research, we've learned that Baobab powder decreases alpha-glucosidase, which is an enzyme that prevents, when you eat carbohydrates, it slows down the conversion to sugar that goes into the blood. But I came across some research showing that when you push down that enzyme, you actually increase GLP-1. And GLP-1, I mean, if you're not familiar with Ozempic, or if you're not familiar with the semaglutide medications, so there's a huge trend right now in the US and maybe some in Europe for these medications that were previously used or are used for diabetes originally, but now are used for weight loss. And it's a huge industry in the US, hundreds of billions of dollars. I believe anywhere between, I think 6% of America is on these medications right now. It's a messenger, so the gut lining is full of messengers. So when your food comes in, it feeds these bacteria, and these bacteria wake up messengers that travel in the blood, and it goes to the brain. Well, actually here, Baobab does the same thing as those medications, even in smaller amounts, but in the long run, this could be a way how Baobab is helping us lose weight. It increases this one messenger, GLP-1. GLP-1 is a messenger that tells the brain that you're full, and that's why you have no desire to eat. It is a normal messenger that also has receptors. So there's receptors, these buttons throughout the body where this messenger travels. It is present in the brain. It is present in the blood vessels, in the heart. It is present in, it affects how the stomach, satiety, and how the stomach empties. There's these messengers for GLP in the liver, and there's also present in the pancreas. Just imagine, if you eat Baobab on a daily basis, you are not only increasing these messengers, you are actually balancing these, this pattern and actually messaging all these organ systems towards a greater state of health. There's a lot to be done with Baobab, but there's a lot of promising things in the future because of a rapidly growing industry of the gut microbiome, and also an industry where we're actually learning in great detail how our food influences the behavior of our immune system. Next page. Okay, I went ahead of myself. So there's, and you all heard of AI, you've heard of maybe metabolomics, proteomics, lipidomics, and advanced microbiome analyses. There's rapidly evolving technologies that can actually evaluate when you eat Baobab, how and which organisms are flourishing in your digestive system. And as we move more and more towards personalized medicine, it would be a fascinating thing to see how Baobab can fit into that world. Go ahead. Okay, so Baobab has its unique profile. It stimulates the gut microbiome into producing these specific metabolites. It affects how the gut functions and the gut barrier, ultimately trickling messengers, good messengers, healthy messengers, to boost human health. So Baobab truly, in my opinion, has a lot of potential to affect our health through this pathway. Go ahead, next. All right, so Baobab is now, these are some stats. I'm sure not all of them are very accurate, but the prebiotic sector, the microbiome sector, and ingestible beauty are all rapidly growing sectors within the natural products industry. One other thing I want to share, I want to touch briefly on the skin microbiome, because I know there's some people here that are in the beauty industry. Your skin also has a whole layer of bacteria that live on the skin. And the drier your skin, the more we have, again, a dysbiosis and imbalance. What's amazing about baobab oil, because it's such a deeply moisturizing oil, it really moisturizes the skin barrier and provides great protection, and provides the soil, just like your food provides the soil for healthy bacteria. A well-nourished skin, a well-moisturized skin, serves as the soil for healthy bacteria. So that's why baobab can really make a difference for psoriasis, for eczema, for acne. It's truly an amazing oil that also can help with the external barrier, the skin microbiome. So that's how I approach baobab. This is how I see baobab fitting in the industry, and how I use it in my thinking in developing products. And I think it's going to give baobab a great moment, and the moment is now. Yeah, is there another page or not? Ah, the glossary. Okay, so yeah, I'm open for questions. I mean, I hope I was able to kind of illustrate what's happening with baobab and how we can use it.
Thank you, Luc. With regard to dosage, with some of the benefits you talked about for GLP-1s and things like that, is there any research indicating amounts required per day and how many days it takes for this to sort of start to take effect up to that level yet?
I would have to look it up. But I do think that, I mean, every meal boosts GLP-1. Everything. There's a huge trend in the US about, oh, GLP-1 this, GLP-1 that. But if you know that 90% of America doesn't have enough fiber in their diet, okay, that's where you start. And that's what fiber does. So if you know that, the daily dose of fiber is what, 20-some grams? And I think if you plug in 8-10 grams of baobab a day, you're already doing yourself a great service. So I think if Americans just plug in more fiber on a regular basis, they would all gradually lose weight, albeit slower. And the fact that baobab has not only fiber but also polyphenols, the synergy between those two, just polyphenols by themselves boost GLP-1, not fiber alone. So polyphenols actually act as prebiotics. So what I think is unique about baobab is that we have that synergy of those two above other ingredients that claim to be prebiotic. I don't know if I answered your question. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the very insightful presentation. Quite a lot of information. Just wanted to know your background in terms of education. Asking because, sometimes when you are the one driving the business and you make also claims of these benefits, the tendency that people tend to doubt the information. So when it's coming from a neutral, independent scientific body, it adds more weight to the story. So that's why I'm asking your background.
Okay. Yeah.
That's one. And then two, as an association, is it possible to have some independent verification of the things we are claiming. I mean, for me, I agree totally to what has been shared because I've lived with so Baobab and I know the wonderful things it does, but we need some scientific independent proving to make our case.
I can provide you all the references.
Okay.
There's a website called PubMed, which is where all researchers and doctors and present. There's a couple of AI platforms that I live on a daily basis. My background, I've been in practice for 30 years in Santa Barbara, California. My specialty is pediatrics, neuroscience, and functional medicine. I'm studying plants for 30 years. Been lecturing all over the US on different topics. And everything I share with you is from the information that I read. But I see a global, like a trend, and the trend I'm seeing for Baobab is that it has an incredible potential in moving us away from these diseases, and knowing on what it contains, and also on what it does to the gut microbiome. Yes, we need to have a lot more research. Right now, the trend is we're moving towards diabetes all over the world, we're moving towards hypertension, and Baobab actually, just adding more of this wonderful ingredient can already make a huge difference. There's information on hypertension, there's information on lowering cholesterol, there's information on lowering sugar. So science is a continuing process of learning. There's nothing absolute.
Okay guys, that's I think is a segue into the next presentation.